My eyes are dead and my throat's like a black hole. The next song is Gas Panic. Gas Panic is potentially, for my money, one of the great Noel Gallagher songwriting achievements. It's, I would say it's been overlooked, but it's actually been quite highly ranked by many. You know that in the ranking system that I've been using, the Manchester Evening News give it to number 10, and all of them are quite high in their assessment of the song. It is the high point of Standing on the Shoulder of Giants, the album. I would say it's a high point. It's certainly one of his best lyrical songs. It showed that they still could bring something fresh and original to their output. It should have been a single. It wasn't, and I think if this had been a single, or any of the B-sides, which we'll get to in a second, of the singles they did have, I think this would have been a much more fondly remembered album. It starts off with I don't know if it's a drum machine, drum beat, very low and unobtrusive, and then it comes in with a very soft and lulling guitar line, just a nice acoustic guitar line. It doesn't really prepare you for the deluge of apocalyptic wordsmithery that's coming your way. That starts off with, "What tongueless ghost of sin crept through my curtain, sailing on a sea of sweat on a stormy night." That's some of the most poetic way that has ever been put to paper of how to describe what is effectively a hangover. He's chatting about, getting off the hard drugs and such, but he's really talking about, having hangovers and, having the fear and having it's probably multiplied by 20, because, they really did like their powder back in the day. That opening phrase, it's just like wonderful poetry to that. The alliteration of sailing on a sea of sweat on a stormy night. Sailing on a sea of sweat on a stormy night. What tongueless ghost of sin crept through my curtain. I mean, the imagery of that, that's the voices in his head just sort of surrounding him as if having sort of the fear. And if there's a God, would he give another chance or an hour to sing for his soul? Could he live through this sort of, nightmarish experience for another hour, so he can, get back to normality, really. It's just brilliant wordsmithery. And then the guitar solo comes in, and it could have just been, pretty straightforward up and down the pentatonic scale, but he actually started, bringing in really new, not new techniques, but really sort of fresh techniques compared to the rest of his output. And like a lot of wah, a lot of just really atmospheric work, and he really stripped it back. I think this might have been sort of the anti-be here now sort of element that he might have been sort of living within himself, but he really stripped everything back for this song. Out of a 10-song album, it's track number 6, and the second half of the album, I think, is a lot stronger than the first half. But this song, Gas Panic, it really is like one of the absolute hidden gems of Oasis's output. If you think if you're getting into Oasis and you know all the big tracks that they would have played in their live set there in Live 25, and you're looking for something else, this is what you need. This song specifically should be a lot bigger than it actually is. I can't really say much more about the song, because it does sort of just reward listening. I've been listening to 25 years now and I still love hearing it. It just rewards having a proper listening to. I'll go back to my previous video, which obviously was number 40, Effing in the Bushes. I've been a bit more censorious of myself here, because I got a bit of pushback from the social networks about the title of the song. And I forgot to actually mention in the video, which was that the title of the song was completely uncensored on the album cover, on the on the track listing, on the and the lyric sheets, and then on the magazine I showed you, there was absolutely no talk at all about the name of the song when the album was being publicised, and not that I can remember. Everyone, like, you know, it was just treated as if he was chatting about Man City. You know, it was just so normalised. It's, you know, it wasn't, you wouldn't hear it on the BBC 6 o'clock news, but people understood that adults sometimes need to swear, and we have really, really regressed from that point of, you know, just being normal about the way humans speak. The album, I also forgot to mention the album title in the last video. The album was Standing on the Shoulder of Giants, not Standing on the Shoulders of Giants. Standing on the Shoulder of Giants, shoulder singular. The name of the album came from when Noel was, you know, getting ready to sort of mix the album and get it all fixed up and everything. And he was looking at a £2 coin, the old style £2 coins. They were just new at the time. Yeah, so it's a £2 coin. I've been trying to show that along the side, which you can't really make out here, is the message, a quote by Isaac Newton. If I can see further than you, it's because I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. And that was in reference to Isaac Newton, obviously, was working on the work that had been already done in his field by people who came before him. That was what he was referring to. So it was put on the side of the £2 coin. Noel's really pissed one night at a pub, and he liked the message on the side of his £2 coin, and he wrote it down on a cigarette pack, and except he was so pissed he wrote Standing on the Shoulder of Giants, and him being a bit of a curmudgeon insisted that was going to be the album title, and so it has transpired. And of course this was the first album of the R Kid the Big Brother record label, and all the catalogue numbers were R Kid. So this one's RKID 002. I don't know if you can see that. R Kid CD 002. Because they're in a new record label, they'd actually left Creation Records, and Creation Records and Alan McGee was fundamental to quite a lot of the success of Oasis and British music throughout the 90s. You know, before Oasis, their biggest success and sort of tail-ended or bookended the Creation Records era. Their last big album was Boast by Primal Scream, first Screamadelica in 91, and then in the year 2000 they released Exterminator, two brilliant albums, and Creation Records and Alan McGee just had this sort of, it was able to tap in to sort of youth culture in a way that other promotions really couldn't. The story, of course, was about Definitely Maybe. It's like they realized they were really popular among people who like dance music. So their tiny marketing budget, they used it to go to dance magazines like Mix Mag and get a review of a rock album on a dance music magazine, and it sent them, you know, that's what got their hype up really quickly. Skipped over Go Let It Out, of course, so I do still think it's a dud lead single. There was actually two great B-sides on that single, and they were very close to being on this list of 50 best Oasis songs. Only that I've only got 9 slots left after this, actually 8 slots left after this. Some stuff had to be jettisoned, but Let's All Make Believe is a really good song. If that had been on the album, if that had been the first single even, I think it would have elevated things. You know, this album, Standing on the Shoulder, is, well, it's obviously in the new era of Oasis, the Line era, as I called it. The new era, like, a lot of people just dismiss this entire second half of their career. Obviously, it's not as good as the first half, the Gwigsy Bonehead era, but there is a lot in here. There's a lot of gems, and I could have made a top 75 list of songs that are better than Roll With It, and a lot of them would have been coming from the second half of their career. You know, there's some great album cuts. There's some, you know, Gem Archer, I'm not sure which it is, but and Andy Bell are, you know, both accomplished musicians with, you know, experience playing in touring bands and everything. They could contribute a lot more than Gwigsy and Bonehead could. You know, they were great. Obviously, they were great members of the band. But in terms of musicianship, they couldn't just keep playing the 10 songs forever. They're variations of the same 10 songs. They did need to sort of branch out a bit, and this album was where they started doing that. Again, Who Feels Love could have been on the list, only that have ran out of spaces. Is the more obvious way that they've been, and that was a single, successful one too, top three, I think. But they were using Indian instruments. They were going out to the Death Valley for the music videos. They were really branching out. The career was winding down. Was basically the attitude that was sort of projected upon them, and they were effectively graduated to a legacy act that they weren't actually at yet. And the other B-side from Go Let It Out that I sort of skipped over, again, would have made the list, is As Long As They've Got Cigarettes in Hell. It's I don't mind not being in heaven as long as they've got cigarettes in hell. What a great sentiment, because that's the way rock and roll lives should be led. Again, it could have been an album track, might have been a reasonably strong single. I mean, I'm chatting like pretty much every song that they've ever written should have been singles, but if the streaming era had been around back then, I think the reception of this album would be a lot more positive than it currently is. Like at the minute, it feels like people have to sort of raise their hand and remind people that this is actually worth listening to, including, in Oasis fandom. Whereas I think this is better than a lot of what comes after this, and or this Standing on the Shoulder is a lot better than what comes after this. Again, if I had more spaces left on the list, I could have picked about 7 out of the 10 songs to put on the list. But such is life. But stick around, because number 42 is coming up next.